Hello there, friends. Today we are doing our Mended Wood handicraft. And this is the pattern that you have the printout of. And I printed mine on sticky paper. There's a special water-soluble sticky paper that you can purchase, and I have linked to that on Amazon. Or you can use a water-soluble ink embroidery pattern transfer pen. And you can just hold it up to the window and draw it on there. I'm gonna show you really quick how to do the needle threading. This is our dark gray thread, and you want 2 threads. There's 6 total. When you separate your thread, it's easiest to just kind of pull it along and have something, whether it is your mouth or your hands or your children or their siblings holding it. You want to keep it taut at the end. Otherwise, you end up with a great big knotted mess. And then you kind of pull it out and straighten it as you go. And there we have it. There is our 2-strand set of thread that we're going to be using for our words here. Those are going to be back stitched. And then if you have a needle threader, you can do your needle threader. I do it the old-fashioned way with a little bit of spit on the thread and then pull it through. Then to make your knot in the end, you just roll it around your finger once, pull it off, and then pull, and you have a nice little knot. And I've already got all of my other ones threaded over here, and we're gonna start with our outer ring. This is gonna be a French knot. So you can see we have all these little dots. I've already got my needle threaded. I already have a knot in the bottom of my thread, and I'm just gonna randomly pick one of these. Now my fabric that I'm using here is actually a cotton kitchen towel. I had several of these leftover linen cotton towels from a different project that we had done in the past, and so I just cut a piece out of there. I did do a double piece because I like the body that it gives a little bit better. So we have this pulled through, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your needle and you're gonna wrap this around, and then you're gonna go really close, not exactly through the same hole, but you're gonna pull it through. Maybe. There it goes. Oh, you know what? I know what I did. So if you're not careful and you get it too close on the first one, you're gonna hit your knot, and that makes it hard to get through. So let's do this again. We're gonna go around, and then I'm gonna aim it just a little differently. There we go, that's better. And that once around is gonna give you your French knot. And I'm gonna show that to you again a couple times just so you can get a really good feel for it. So you're gonna pull your thread all the way up. You're gonna come around just once. Then you're gonna go down next to where your thread came out. And when you pull it taut, oops, that one went right through. I went through the same hole. That's why you don't wanna go through the same hole. I thought I'd gotten it far enough away. So you come around, and then you go through again. There we go. See, even if you've been doing this for a while, it's never gonna be quite perfect. But then we're gonna keep going around the circle, making our little French knots. So I'm gonna finish my French knots and come back and show you guys some more stitches in just a few minutes. Okay, so you can see we have all of our little French knots done. Now we are going to be working on the stem stitch. Our star from Starseek is going to be done in light and dark brown, alternating on each stick. And because I wanted this to be kind of thick, I have 3 strands of thread for this. And with your stem stitch, you're gonna make some straight stitches, and then you come in just behind where your first stitch ended, this is hard to do standing up, and then you're going to come through again, and your end goal, you want to have a straight line, but you want it to be thicker, like a stem. And so we're going to keep going up, and we're going to come in on the right side of our finished stitches, and then we're going to come straight back over here towards the left side of our line. And we're going to keep stitching each one of these just like that. And so you see it kind of makes this thicker stem. So we're going to do this again. We're going to come in on the right and stitch it towards there. And the goal is just to make this look a little bit thicker so it looks more like a twig. And you do want to do this part before you start doing your ribbon. And we will go over that in just a minute. I'm trying to see through my phone there, guys. And this one's about to the end. And if you don't get it perfectly straight, that's okay. I'm not sure the lines are perfectly straight because that's hand drawn. And then I put it on the computer so that, one, it would be printable, and two, so I could do typed text on it so it would be more legible. All right, so that's gonna finish off that stick, and we're gonna skip this one and do our lighter brown on that. We're gonna come back to the center and we're gonna do the next twig that goes down. So we'll do that, and then we'll do this one in the dark, and then we'll go around the light ones, and I'll be back to show you the satin stitch for our ribbons. All right, guys, just one more time. Here's what the stem stitch looks like. This is back to our lighter brown thread. So you come up through near the middle of your previous stitch, and then you're gonna come over to the other side just a little bit, and you'll pull it through, and then you're gonna keep doing that. Oh, you don't wanna actually get the threads in there. Sometimes if you'll pull it over just a touch with your finger, that helps. So there you have stem stitch going up the last part of our Star Seek star there. And you can see this gives it a nice sort of round shape, and it makes it a little bit thicker than just a straight stitch. If you have younger children participating and they want to do just great big straight stitches, that is a-okay. There's more than enough time for them to learn how to do stitches like this. This is also kind of a fun piece if you wanted to put it on a bag, or if you wanted to let your kids draw their own design. That's awesome too. At that point, it's the water-soluble ink pens are really the best option for that. You can use a light pencil to draw it, but that sometimes is harder to get out when you wash it. Whereas this that I am using, the sticky fabric, deteriorates and kind of melts in the water when you go to rinse it off. The water-soluble ink pen does the same thing. I will tell you, you can definitely tell which one of my sticks that I did. You can tell which ones I did sitting down and which ones I have done standing up. The ones I did sitting down are much neater. And then this will be our last stitch. On this one, we'll go through here. Now on the back, you'll notice the back's not ever quite as neat as the front, but you don't want it to be super messy either. And the longer you do this, the better you will get at making the back not messy. It just takes practice. So you can make your little loop and bring your needle through it like that. And you don't want to pull it too tight because you don't want to make a pucker on the front of your embroidery piece. But then you're going to do your second stitch through there and your second loop. You'll pull it tight. And then I like to just do the thread through a couple little stitches just to make sure. Whoops, didn't mean to shake you there. Just to make sure it's all the way down. Then you trim it off, and there you go. And that is the back, and this is the front. So now we're gonna start working on our satin stitch on the ribbon, and we're gonna start with our dark red thread. All right, so we're gonna start our dark red thread, and I do have 3 strands of the thread here in the center. And we are going to very carefully kind of make it into a knot around the sticks. So we're gonna do 2 strands across here. We're getting a knot in the back there. There we go. All right, so you see I've taken it across the sticks there twice. And then we'll do the same thing with the lighter red fabric in the other direction. And now you can see there's also some of the shaded ribbon on this side. And we're gonna pull that down into there just so that it looks like our sticks are all tied together. And then here, right there between the center and the points, we're gonna start our satin stitch. And this section does go behind one of the little sticks there. And your satin stitch is really just a filler stitch. Let me see if I can get this to focus just a little bit better for you guys. Yeah, so your satin stitch is a filler stitch. And you want to just do straight stitches across and keep it all nice and filled in. So this is actually a pretty simple stitch. It's just a little on the tedious side. So this is a great time to make sure that you've got your audiobook on or your music. And then we're going to come over here to the other side of our stick, and you can see where the ribbon comes there. And we're just going to start by going straight up next to the stick. And you're going to want to make it a little bit taut to make sure that the stick still shows there. And then you're just going to keep coming around all the way down this ribbon with your satin stitch. And fill it all the way in. So I'll be back in just a minute and we'll show you what to do with the light red color. All right, so you can see we've got our lighter red that we've done through our knot just like that, and then we're coming across here. That last straight stitch right there helps kind of give the shape to your ribbon that it is flying in the wind. And then you're just going to keep going. That's a little far. You're going to keep going with your satin stitch. And you can see there's only 2 threads in my lighter red. And that kind of gives it a little bit of the impression that it's not as far forward. Embroidery is really a little bit like painting with thread. And so the way that you use the number of threads and the types of stitches is really part of what kind of creates your picture. And you can see we have a really pretty texture on our top ribbon because we had the 3 thread strand. And you can see there's a nice contrast between the light red and the dark red, but it's not too much. And so we're going to keep going with this satin stitch and finish this out. And then we're going to move on to back stitching the text. And the back stitch really is one of the most simple stitches. It's very, very easy. My guys have been able to do the back stitch pretty well since they were, I guess, four or so each. All right, and then sometimes if you get super close on one, it's easier to come from the outside in instead of the inside out. So we're gonna put this one right there. And so you can see how this is coming together. And then we're gonna go right on up here and finish this off with our satin stitch. All right, guys, we are in the home stretch here. And so we have our star and our ribbons done and our French dots. And now we are going to start back stitching our text. Now this is a 6-inch hoop. So you're going to want to do the 6-inch hoop if you print the pattern in the size that it is. You can obviously shrink it or make it larger if you want. Now that was a single stitch because I don't like super big stitches. Even on the straight lines here, like this eye, I don't usually do just one big line. I will do 2 because I think it keeps the stitch nicer and tighter and you have less chance of it becoming loose if you wash it to get the sticky fabric off. But all back stitching is making sure that you have a continuous line and the hole from one stitch starts where another stitch ends. So we're going to keep going with our back stitch here. And I kind of wanted to do a time lapse, but I'll be honest, there's not enough space on my phone. So we're going to keep going with this video and I will show you here in just a second. When you are working on the little curves in your text, okay, you're going to keep going with your back stitch. You're just going to make really small ones. So here, we're going to go from the middle of the little curve under the T, back up to the hole where we stopped that stitch. And this is a double threaded fabric. Double threaded needle. You could do a single thread if you wanted to. Sometimes I prefer the single thread, sometimes I like the double. And I had everything else on this one double and triple, so I just kept it double to keep the width. But sometimes it's easier for the text to be readable when it's just a single thread. So you can make your own determination on that. And then here we have our W. Now on the W, and you do have to watch, sometimes these will get knotted up a little bit. So you've got to be careful. Don't keep pulling on them. Go to the back or the front or wherever it's tangled and untangle it that way. On the W, I'm going to do the single stitches because it's not as tall. See, I'm getting knots. There we go. that thread actually, so when it gets kind of shredded, I guess, like that, it makes it easier for it to knot up. And so sometimes you might just want to take your scissors and trim off that little bit of extra where it is fuzzy. We'll see if that makes it all better. All right. So there we go to our W. And we'll go from this one to there. And in just a minute, I will show you the eye. And then I will show you how to make the dot. And then I will finish up and show you at the end. That was my little guy jumping off a chair. So because this is a double thread, I'm going to scoot that over just a little bit. So that it's not so tight. Now we're going to take our thread through the dot, and I'm just going to do a tiny little French knot just like we did all the way around the outside. Just like that. And that is how you will dot your eye. Now I'm going to finish this up and show you guys the end result. All right, friends, so I'm getting ready to go wash this. I decided to have a little fun with the thread down here on the larger words, Mended Wood. And you can do this or not. It's easier not to. But I mixed one thread of the green with 2 of the dark gray. And then on this one, I did 2 of the dark brown with 1 of the lighter brown color. So it just kind of gives it a little extra something down there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave it in the hoop to wash this fabric away with the cool water. And this actually, the directions are on here. This shows you what the fabric looks like. It just runs through your printer, the sticky stuff. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top loop off and I'm going to paint it. I think, I haven't decided for sure yet. It's either going to be gold or it's going to be brown. But once that's all dry, I'm gonna iron it after the fabric, the sticky stuff is washed off. And then I will put it all back together after this is pressed, and I will show you the finished project. All right, friends, here we go. This is our finished piece. And normally I don't have any issues with the ink bleeding, but this one had to be rinsed a few different times. And you can see the pressing can kind of sometimes move the text and things around. But I did have to do this one a couple times. I don't know if it's maybe the fabric since I used the towel, and I've not used the towel before with the printable sticky fabric. So I don't know if that was the issue or if our printer this time just put too much ink on there. But that is something to be wary of. I've never had that happen before with just straight linen from like Hobby Lobby. So be aware. But I used a little bit of a Tide stick where it was, and most of it came out. Now this is centered here on our hoop. And again, this is a 6-inch loop. I painted this my favorite shiny gold, and I am going to now put this over here, over our fabric, and I'm going to turn it just a little bit, and then tighten the fabric up just a touch. And it is a little bit stretchy after you wash it. And then I'm going to finish tightening it up. You want it to be really nice and tight. And I also want to kind of keep it towards the bottom because I do have a plan for it. Now, when you end your pieces, there are a couple ways you can close off the back. You can glue it. You can use hot glue. I prefer to do just regular fabric glue and glue it down like this. Or you can stitch it all around together. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It doesn't really affect too much on the outside unless you are planning on hanging it. And this one probably will be hung. So if you're hanging it and you're not wanting to put a little hoop or something on the back, you probably want to do the glue so that you have space for it to hang on a nail on the wall. But this one I'm going to stitch because I am out of fabric glue at the moment. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to attach some ribbon here at the bottom, and then it will be done. But doesn't that look pretty? Share on social media with the hashtag THGMorningTime so that we can see your finished pieces. Now, this took me about an hour and a half from start to finish, but I do this fairly frequently. It may take your students a lot longer. That's absolutely fine. If they do it in phases, it's best, I think, to just kind of do one color at a time. And that kind of breaks it down into smaller, more doable steps, even for your youngest learners. So enjoy, and we'll see you soon. Bye.